17 hospitals, told him his mother would die in 48 hours. Then a waitress looked at the medical reports on his table and said 5 words that changed everything. They're treating the wrong thing. What this billionaire CEO didn't know. The woman pouring his coffee was Dr. Maya Holloway, one of America's most brilliant cardiac surgeons, destroyed 5 years ago for exposing a powerful family's deadly secret. What she didn't know, that same family runs the hospital where his mother is dying. In 3 seconds, she diagnosed what $2 million in medical care missed. But speaking up would cost her everything. Drop your city below and subscribe, because what happened next will make you question every assumption you have about who deserves to be heard. This waitress was about to save a life and lose her freedom. Nobody looks at a waitress. Not really, which is exactly why Dr. Maya Christine Holloway had survived 18 months serving coffee to the same people who once called her brilliant. At 6 a.m., Monroe's diner smelled like burnt coffee and bacon grease, the kind of smell that clings to your uniform long after your shift ends. Maya tied her apron with practiced efficiency, the worn fabric familiar against her hands. Outside, October rain created halos around the streetlights of Rittenhouse Square, Philadelphia's wealth concentrated in a few expensive blocks where old money met new power. She was invisible here. Perfect. Table 4 needed refills. The regular in booth 7 wanted his eggs over easy, no butter on the toast. Table 2, the businessman who never looked up from his phone, always ordered black coffee and oatmeal. Maya didn't write anything down. She never did. 12 orders memorized in the time it took most servers to find a pen. Her hands moved with precision that came from a different life. Steady, calculated, efficient. The kind of hands that had once held human hearts during surgery, that had sutured vessels smaller than thread, that had saved 43 lives in a single year at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. But that was before the testimony, before everything shattered. The diner's fluorescent lights hummed overhead, mixing with the clatter of dishes in the kitchen and Lou's voice calling orders through the window. Maya poured coffee for table 8, a man in his 60s explaining to his wife about his new heart medication. Doctor says it's a beta blocker, he said, mispronouncing the drug name. Supposed to thin my blood or something. Maya's correction came automatically. Muscle memory she couldn't suppress. Actually, beta blockers slow your heart rate and reduce blood pressure. You're thinking of anticoagulants. Those thin your blood. The couple stared. Her body went rigid. That's what I heard somewhere. I'm sure your doctor explained it better, she deflected quickly, smile forced, already moving to the next table. Lou caught her eye from behind the counter, his weathered face showing concern he never voiced. He'd hired her 18 months ago when she walked in desperate, using the name Maya Hayes, no references, no questions asked. He'd said once, "You're overqualified for this, kid. I don't know what you're running from, but you're safe here." Safe. What a relative word. Maya's hand touched the small photo in her apron pocket, a habit she couldn't break. Dr. Patricia Chen, her mentor, scrubbed in during surgery, eyes focused with the intensity Maya remembered from every operation they performed together. Patricia was gone now, 3 years dead from cancer. But her voice remained. Medicine isn't about credentials, Maya. It's about who you save when saving them costs everything. Outside, rain fell harder. Maya checked her phone during a lull. Bank account showed $347.18. Rent was due in 4 days, $900 she didn't have. The $600 she'd sent her mother in Milwaukee last week meant double shifts this week. Exhaustion that made her bones ache. But exhaustion kept you from thinking, from remembering what you lost. The diner door opened. A man stumbled inside, expensive suit ruined by rain, eyes carrying the weight of someone who just learned money couldn't buy the one thing that mattered. Everything was about to change. Harrison Castellano didn't walk into Monroe's diner. He collapsed into it. A $4,000 Tom Ford suit, wrinkled, beyond recognition. Carrying the weight of a mother he couldn't save and a lifetime of believing money solved everything. It was 7:15 a.m. He hadn't slept in 63 hours. Lou straightened behind the counter. Recognition instant. He leaned toward Maya, voice low. "That's Harrison Castellano. Handles more money before breakfast than we'll see in 10 lifetimes. Whatever's wrong, stay out of it." Maya had heard the name. Everyone in Philadelphia had. CEO of Castellano Holdings, a private equity firm managing $12 billion in assets. He was 42 but looked older today. Unshaven, bloodshot eyes, the kind of disheveled that came from hospitals and helplessness. Lou didn't need to be told. He reserved the corner booth, the best one, unprompted. Other customers noticed. Conversations dropped to whispers. Phones discreetly angled for photos. Power had its own gravity. People either moved toward it or away from it, but never ignored it. Maya approached with coffee, professional smile in place. The booth was covered in papers, medical reports, imaging scans, documents stamped with letterheads from Brandywine Medical Center, Penn Medicine, Jefferson Health, EKG printouts, specialist recommendations, pharmaceutical protocols, the landscape of someone fighting to save a life. Harrison ordered without looking at the menu. Coffee. Black. Whatever breakfast you have. I don't care. His phone rang. Then again, and again. He answered each call with increasing desperation, lawyers' assistants, more doctors delivering the same verdict with different words. "We've tried everything. There's nothing more we can do." Maya refilled his coffee. He said thank you without looking up, automatically adding a tip that was 50% of the bill. The gesture of someone who'd grown up with money, who said please and thank you because it had been drilled into him. Even when his world was ending. Between calls, he stared at the medical reports with the intensity of someone trying to will different results into existence. Maya caught fragments of conversations. Takatsubo cardiomyopathy, 8 days, now 17 specialists, cardiac output declining. Mom, please hold on. His mother. The vulnerability in that word cracked through his corporate armor. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly regular in booth 3, whispered to her companion. "That's Harrison Castellano. His father died building that empire. Now I hear his mother's in the hospital. That family seen too much grief." Maya cleared his untouched plate. Harrison's phone buzzed with texts, updates from the hospital showing numbers trending in the wrong direction. Ejection fraction dropping. Blood pressure unstable. Time running out. He'd spent his life acquiring companies, moving billions, making impossible deals happen through sheer force of will and capital. But you can't negotiate with heart failure. You can't buy your way out of a diagnosis when the best doctors in Philadelphia admitted defeat. Harrison took another call, voice cracking. "Dr. Chin, there has to be something. Some specialist we haven't consulted. Some experimental treatment. I don't care what it costs." The answer on the other end made his shoulders slump. Maya saw it. The moment a powerful man realized power had limits. She should have walked away. Should have refilled coffee at table 6, cleared dishes from booth 2, stayed invisible like she trained herself to do for 18 months. But the EKG printout on his table was visible from where she stood, and something about the wave pattern was wrong. At 7:43 a.m., Dr. Raymondson from Brandywine's cardiology department delivered the words that would force Harrison Castellano to question everything he believed about expertise, credentials, and the invisible people society trains us to dismiss. Maya was refilling Harrison's coffee. The 4th cup when his phone rang. He stared at the screen. Dr. Chin, Brandywine Cardiology. His hand shook as he answered, putting it on speaker because he was too exhausted to hold the phone to his ear. "Mr. Castellano, this is Dr. Raymondson. I'm calling with the team's final assessment on your mother's condition." The diner noise seemed to fade. Maya's hand stopped mid-pour. Dr. Chen's voice carried 30 years of medical authority and the weight of delivering news no doctor wanted to give. We've exhausted every protocol. Your mother's cardiac output continues declining despite maximum inotropic support. Her ejection fraction is now 18%. We've consulted 17 specialists across 3 hospital systems: cardiology, cardiac surgery, interventional radiology. Even brought in experts from Johns Hopkins. Harrison's knuckles went white, gripping the table edge. Without significant improvement in the next 48 hours, we're looking at complete cardiac failure. Mr. Castellano, I'm recommending we begin hospice consultation. Help make her comfortable. I'm deeply sorry. Sometimes medicine simply doesn't have answers. The phone slipped from Harrison's hand, clattering against the table. His head dropped into his palms, shoulders shaking with silent grief that was too raw for public display. The diner held its breath. Lou froze. Mrs. Patterson's hand covered her mouth. Even the couple at table 6 stopped eating. Then Harrison spoke, voice breaking, talking to himself or God or the universe. Takotsubo, cardiomyopathy with acute mitral regurgitation following emotional shock. How is this not responsive to standard protocols? How do 17 specialists not see something? Maya's world tilted. That wasn't Google speak. That wasn't a son researching his mother's condition on WebMD. That was precise clinical terminology, the kind doctors used in surgical conferences, not grieving family members in diners. Her eyes dropped to the EKG printout visible among the scattered papers. The coffee pot trembled in her hand. Her brain, trained through 15 years of surgical education, sharpened by thousands of cardiac cases, processed the rhythm strips in 2.3 seconds. The ST segment elevation pattern was wrong. Standard Takotsubo showed diffuse changes. This showed localized ischemia in the anterior wall. The T-wave inversions weren't global. They were concentrated in leads V2 through V4, suggesting left anterior descending artery involvement. They were missing it. All 17 specialists were treating the symptoms and missing the cause. SCAD, spontaneous coronary artery dissection, layered beneath the Takotsubo presentation. The stress cardiomyopathy was real, but it was masking the mechanical problem. An arterial tear compromising blood flow. Inotropic support would increase cardiac workload, worsening the dissection. Virginia Castellano didn't need medication. She needed surgery. Immediately, Maya's hand stopped moving. Every survival instinct she developed over 5 years of hiding screamed at her. Stay silent. Walk away. This isn't your problem. But a woman was dying. 48 hours from complete heart failure. From a diagnosable, treatable condition that Maya could see in 3 seconds, while 17 specialists missed it for 8 days. If Maya stayed silent, what did that make her? Kenneth Ashford had stayed silent about his impairment. Let 3 patients die rather than admit weakness. Maya had destroyed her career refusing to be silent. And now silence would kill Virginia Castellano. The Ashford family monitored for her reemergence. Lawrence Ashford had operatives watching medical boards, hospital applications, any hint that Maya Holloway was practicing medicine again. Her license suspension came with explicit threats. Any practice of medicine, even advice, meant permanent revocation and criminal prosecution. But Virginia Castellano had 48 hours, and Maya was still a doctor. Under the ruined career, the waitress uniform, the assumed name, she was still a doctor. She set down the coffee pot. Her voice came out steady, quiet, but carrying the authority of someone who'd held beating hearts in her hands. They're treating the wrong thing. Harrison's head snapped up. She doesn't need inotropic support, Maya continued, meeting his shocked eyes. She needs emergency surgical repair of a SCAD lesion in the left anterior descending artery. Silence crashed into Monroe's diner like a physical force. Lou dropped a plate in the kitchen. The crash echoed like a gunshot. 2 customers at the counter turned. staring. Mrs. Patterson whispered, "Sweet Jesus, she sounds like my cardiologist." Harrison's hands trembled, scattering medical papers across the booth. Blood pounded in his ears, drowning out the fluorescent hum and rain outside. The floor seemed to tilt beneath his expensive shoes. His breath caught. This waitress just used terminology that even Dr. Chin hadn't articulated. Time stuttered. His voice cracked. What did you just say?" Maya's body language shifted, shoulders back, chin up, the invisible woman becoming visible. "Your mother has spontaneous coronary artery dissection layered beneath Takotsubo cardiomyopathy." She nodded toward the EKG printout. The pattern there shows localized ischemia inconsistent with pure stress cardiomyopathy. The dissection is likely in the LAD, causing the refractory response to treatment. Standard inotropic support will worsen outcomes because you're not addressing the mechanical disruption of blood flow. Lou's mouth fell open. Harrison stared at Maya as if seeing her for the first time. Really seeing her. "Who are you?" Harrison demanded, voice barely controlled. Maya's expression showed immediate regret. The mask had slipped. Exposure was happening. 5 years of careful invisibility shattered in 30 seconds. But she didn't retreat. Someone who knows cardiac surgery. And your mother doesn't have 48 hours for you to decide whether credentials matter more than being right. Harrison Castellano had built a $12 billion empire on reading people, on knowing in 0.4 seconds who mattered and who was furniture. He had categorized Maya Holloway instantly. Waitress, uneducated, irrelevant, invisible. But in the next 10 words she spoke, that certainty shattered into 1,000 pieces. And so did everything he thought he knew about where expertise lives. Within 90 minutes, Harrison's legal team would deliver a file on Maya Holloway that would make him question not just her identity, but the entire system that destroyed people for telling the truth. Harrison stood, coffee forgotten, medical papers ignored. "Sit down," he demanded, voice tight with desperation and confusion. "Show me credentials, medical degree, license, anything proving you're not delusional." Maya shook her head, already stepping back toward the kitchen. "I can't. My mother's dying." "I know," Maya interrupted, voice sharp with 5 years of pain. "Get a cardiac CT angiography with focus on the LAD. Look for intimal tear with intramural hematoma. If I'm wrong, you've lost 2 hours. If I'm right, you'll see what 17 specialists missed." Harrison grabbed his phone, voice shaking. "Why should I trust a waitress over Dr. Raymond Chin? Over Penn Medicine? Over Johns Hopkins consultants?" Maya's eyes flashed old rage, old grief breaking through careful control. "Because the last time I told powerful people an uncomfortable truth, they made sure I'd never practice medicine again." She turned, walking away to clear table 6, leaving Harrison with more questions than answers. But he already had his phone to his ear. "Marcus, I need deep background on someone. Immediately." Maya Holloway, waitress at Monroe's Diner, Rittenhouse Square. Everything: education, employment history, criminal record, medical licenses. 45 minutes. He hung up, calling Brandywine next. "Dr. Chin, schedule the CT angiography. Cardiac focus, left anterior descending artery. Looking for arterial dissection. Do it now." 45 minutes later, Marcus Reeves entered Harrison's corner office. Face unreadable. "Sir, you need to see this." The file landed on Harrison's desk like evidence at trial. 5 years ago, Dr. Maya Christine Holloway was a rising star at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. Board-certified cardiothoracic surgeon at 29. Fellowship at Johns Hopkins, the best cardiac surgery program in the country. Surgical success rates 23% above national average. She pioneered a minimally invasive mitral valve repair technique that was being adopted by surgical centers nationwide. Teaching surgeon. published in The Lancet, JAMA, the New England Journal of Medicine, on track to lead Northwestern's entire cardiac surgery department before age 35. Patient testimonials used words like miraculous, saved my life, when others gave up, the most talented surgeon I've ever witnessed. Then the page turned. Dr. Kenneth Ashford. Alcohol-fueled surgical errors. 3 patients dead. Margaret Voss, 54. David Park, 61. Jennifer Caldwell, 47. Hospital administration wanted quiet settlements. Maya Holloway gathered evidence. Surgical logs showing impairment, falsified records, witness testimony. She went to the medical board. She testified at trial. Kenneth Ashford convicted, 8 years prison. Lawrence Ashford, Kenneth's brother, owned Ashford Pharmaceuticals, worth $4.2 billion. What followed was systematic destruction, manufactured ethics complaints, falsified patient grievances, legal intimidation. Illinois Medical Board suspended Maya's license. Northwestern terminated her. $385,000 in student loans. No income. Legal fees bankrupted her. Blacklisted everywhere. She fled to Philadelphia 18 months ago. Changed appearance. Cut her hair. Dyed it darker. Lost 20 pounds from stress. Used the name Maya Hayes on applications. Stopped trying to reclaim her career. Marcus pointed to the final page. Sir, she's a ghost. Or she was one of the most talented cardiac surgeons in the country before someone erased her. Harrison stared at Maya's hidden history. Medical school honors, surgical board scores in the 99th percentile. 43 lives saved in a single year. Then the destruction. His phone buzzed. Text from Brandywine. CT completed. You need to see this immediately. Harrison looked at Marcus. She was right, wasn't she? Sir, the woman pouring your coffee might be the only person in Philadelphia who can save your mother. At 2:17 p.m., Dr. Raymondson stared at Virginia Castellano's cardiac CT angiography and felt something he hadn't experienced in 30 years of practice. The humiliation of being completely catastrophically wrong. The images on the screen didn't lie. There it was, clear as daylight. Spontaneous coronary artery dissection in the left anterior descending artery. Intramural hematoma visible as a dark shadow compromising blood flow. Layered beneath the Takotsubo cardiomyopathy that had distracted 17 specialists for 8 days. A waitress had diagnosed it in 3 seconds. Dr. Chen's hands trembled as he zoomed in on the arterial tear. The SCAD explained everything. Why Virginia's cardiac output kept declining. Why inotropic support wasn't working. Why every protocol they tried had failed. They'd been increasing her heart's workload, worsening the dissection with every medication dose. His radiology resident stood beside him, voice quiet with awe and fear. Dr. Chen, this is? How did we miss this? Chen couldn't answer, because the truth was unacceptable. They'd been so focused on the Takotsubo diagnosis, the dramatic presentation, the emotional trigger, the textbook symptoms, that they'd stopped looking deeper. Medical tunnel vision, the kind of mistake that killed patients. And a diner waitress had caught it. He reached for his phone, pride battling medical necessity. Pride lost. Virginia Castellano needed surgery immediately, and his ego wasn't worth her life. Harrison answered on the first ring. Dr. Chen. Tell me. Chen's voice was tight, professional armor cracking. Mr. Castellano. The CT confirms an atypical finding we missed. Your mother has spontaneous coronary artery dissection complicated by Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. She needs immediate surgical intervention. We're assembling our cardiac surgery team now. Silence on the line. Then Harrison's voice hard as steel. Can your team handle SCAD repair complicated by Takotsubo? The question cut like a scalpel. Chun hesitated. We're consulting with specialists from Penn Medicine. This is complex. The repair technique requires The waitress who diagnosed this in 3 seconds. Harrison interrupted. Could she do it? Chen's jaw clenched. Mr. Castellano, I don't know who gave you that diagnosis, but cardiac surgery requires active board certification or privileges, malpractice coverage, hospital credentialing. There are legal and medical standards. Dr. Maya Holloway, Harrison said, voice cutting through excuses. Formerly of Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Know the name? The floor seemed to drop from beneath Chen's feet. Maya Holloway. Every cardiac surgeon in the country knew that name. The whistleblower who destroyed Kenneth Ashford. The prodigy who'd vanished after her license suspension. Chen had read her research papers, studied her minimally invasive valve repair technique, watched surgical videos of her work with something approaching reverence. I know the name, Chen admitted, voice barely above a whisper. She was before the Illinois board suspension. She was extraordinary. But, sir, she can't legally practice. Her license is suspended. If she touches a patient, find a way, Harrison commanded. My mother has maybe 36 hours. Your team missed this for 8 days. I want Dr. Holloway consulted. Make it happen. The line went dead. Chen stared at the CT images of the diagnosis he'd missed, at the life he'd nearly lost through oversight. His 30-year career suddenly felt inadequate against the sharp clarity of Maya Holloway's 3-second assessment. 3 miles away, in a studio apartment above Monroe's diner, Maya sat on her bed with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The hidden box lay open on the worn blanket. Contents she hadn't touched in 18 months spread before her like evidence of a past life. Her medical diploma from Johns Hopkins, the gold embossed seal catching afternoon light. Her surgical board certification, dated 6 years ago when she'd been 28 and the world had seemed limitless. A photograph, Maya in surgical scrubs, masked and focused, hands inside a patient's open chest during a complex mitral valve repair. And the letter, Dr. Patricia Chen's handwriting, shaky from chemotherapy but determined. Maya, you were born to heal. Never let anyone take that from you. Not institutions, not powerful men, not fear. Medicine needs people who tell uncomfortable truths more than it needs people who protect comfortable lies. Be brave. I love you. Patricia. Maya's thumb traced the words. Eyes burning with tears she'd stopped allowing herself 5 years ago. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Almost let it go to voicemail. Maintained the safety of invisibility. But her hand moved before her brain approved. Dr. Holloway. Harrison Castellano's voice carried desperation and something else. Respect. The CT confirmed everything he said. Spontaneous coronary artery dissection in the LAD, exactly like you diagnosed. Brandywine wants you to consult on my mother's surgery. To get you hospital access, legal protection, whatever you need. Please. Maya closed her eyes. Patricia Chen's letter clutched in her other hand. Mr. Castellano, I can't. My mother is dying. I know, Maya interrupted, voice layered with 5 years of pain. But my license is suspended. The moment I step into that hospital in any medical capacity, I'm breaking the law. And the family that destroyed my career? Lawrence Ashford sits on Brandywine's board of directors. He'll know within an hour, and he'll ensure I face maximum criminal prosecution. Felony charges, prison time, permanent license revocation. Harrison's breath caught. Lawrence Ashford? Ashford Pharmaceuticals. His brother Kenneth is the surgeon I testified against. Maya said quietly. Lawrence has been monitoring for my reemergence for 5 years, waiting for me to make one mistake so he can finish what he started. If I do this, I lose everything again. I can protect you. No one can protect me from this, Maya said. I'm sorry about your mother, Mr. Castellano. I truly am, but I can't. She hung up before he could respond, sat in silence, broken only by rain against the window. Patricia Chen's letter rested in her lap. Medicine isn't about protecting yourself, Maya. It's about who you save when saving them costs you everything. Later, Maya would wonder if she could have maintained invisibility in that moment, could have let Virginia Castellano become another statistic, another life lost to medical oversight. But sitting in that studio apartment, staring at the remnants of the doctor she'd been, she knew the truth. The oath she'd taken didn't have an expiration date, and Virginia Castellano had 36 hours. Lawrence Ashford received the call about Maya Holloway at 4:32 p.m. during a Brandywine Medical Center board meeting, and the smile that spread across his face was the kind that had destroyed careers, buried evidence, and ensured his family's enemies stayed buried. The boardroom overlooked Philadelphia's skyline, glass and steel monuments to power and money. Lawrence sat at the head of the table, 58 years old, silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Ashford Pharmaceuticals donated $8 million annually to Brandywine's research wing. That bought influence, that bought control. A junior administrator knocked, apologetic for the interruption. "Mr. Ashford, I thought you'd want to know. Dr. Chen has requested approval for consulting with a Maya Holloway on the Castellano case. Harrison Castellano is insisting on her involvement. The consultation is scheduled for tomorrow morning." The name hit Lawrence like voltage. "Excuse me," he said to the board, voice perfectly controlled even as his pulse spiked. He stepped into the hallway, pulled out his phone, opened the monitoring app he'd paid $75,000 to maintain for 5 years. Alert: Maya Christine Holloway. Medical consultation activity detected. Brandywine Medical Center, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There it was. The ghost had materialized. Lawrence stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, memories flooding back with the force of old rage. Kenneth had been his younger brother, his only sibling. Their father had built Ashford Pharmaceuticals from nothing, turned it into a $4 billion empire. Kenneth was supposed to extend the family legacy through medicine, combine pharmaceutical innovation with surgical excellence. The Ashford name would dominate healthcare. Then Maya Holloway testified. Lawrence wasn't naive. He'd known Kenneth had problems. The drinking that started after his divorce, the prescription medications that helped him focus during 18-hour shifts. But family handled problems internally, quietly. You paid settlements. You transferred surgeons to different hospitals. You protected the name. You didn't put family in prison. Maya had violated the unspoken rule that kept powerful families powerful. She'd gone public, made Kenneth's addiction headline news, testified in open court about 3 dead patients, Margaret Voss, David Park, Jennifer Caldwell, turned the Ashford name into a cautionary tale. Kenneth got 8 years. Ashford Pharmaceuticals lost medical partnerships worth hundreds of millions. Lawrence's father died 6 months later. The stress, the shame, the humiliation. And Maya Holloway walked away. No, Lawrence had ensured she didn't walk away. He'd destroyed her the way she'd destroyed Kenneth. Ethics complaints manufactured by private investigators. Patient grievances from people he'd paid 6 figures to lie. Medical board members he'd influenced through consulting fees and pharmaceutical contracts. Northwestern's termination. License suspension. Professional exile. For 5 years, Lawrence had paid monitoring services to track her, waiting for her to apply for medical jobs, submit license reinstatement paperwork, surface anywhere in healthcare, waiting for the moment she'd make a mistake, and now she'd walked into his hospital. Lawrence made 3 calls. Call 1, Brandywine's chief of medicine, Dr. Robert Mansfield. Robert: Lawrence Ashford. I just learned you're consulting Maya Holloway on a patient case. His voice was corporate smooth, reasonable. I need to remind you that Ms. Holloway has a suspended medical license and is legally barred from medical practice. if she sets foot in this hospital in any medical capacity. You're exposing Brandywine to catastrophic malpractice liability. Dr. Mansfield's voice carried hesitation. Lawrence, the patient is Virginia Castellano. Harrison Castellano is demanding. I understand Mr. Castellano's grief, Lawrence interrupted, but we cannot compromise medical standards, no matter how much money is involved. I'm recommending immediate termination of this consultation. Document everything. Silence. Then, I'll speak with Dr. Chin. Call 2 his legal team. James, it's Lawrence. Maya Holloway is attempting to practice medicine without a license at Brandywine Medical Center in Philadelphia. I want documentation of every action she takes, every consultation, every piece of medical advice, every patient interaction. When she crosses the line from observation to practice, I want maximum criminal prosecution, felony charges, jail time, and I want the Pennsylvania Medical Board to ensure permanent license revocation. His attorney's response was immediate. Understood. We'll coordinate with the Philadelphia DA's office. Call 3. Harrison Castellano. Lawrence knew Harrison socially. Overlapping business circles, shared charity galas. The invisible network of Philadelphia's billionaire class. He left a voicemail, voice warm with false concern. Harrison, it's Lawrence Ashford. I heard about your mother. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I also heard you're consulting with Maya Holloway. I need to speak with you urgently about something you should know regarding her background and the legal complications her involvement could create. Call me immediately. I'm trying to help. He hung up, satisfaction settling in his chest like fine whiskey. Across the city in his corner office, Harrison listened to Lawrence's voicemail and felt cold rage crystallize in his gut. He'd already researched Lawrence Ashford, already discovered the connection to Kenneth Ashford, already understood that Maya's powerful family wasn't abstract. It sat on the board of the hospital treating his mother. Marcus Reeves stood beside him, tablet displaying Castellano Holdings' financial network, pharmaceutical contracts, hospital investments, medical real estate holdings, 47 medical centers across 12 states, billions in leverage. Sir, if you go to war with the Ashford family, Marcus began. I'm already at war, Harrison interrupted, voice like ice. Lawrence Ashford destroyed a brilliant surgeon for telling the truth about his brother's malpractice. That surgeon just saved my mother's life with a diagnosis 17 specialists missed. Now Lawrence wants to put her in prison for helping. He looked at Marcus. I need comprehensive files on Lawrence Ashford, every Brandywine board member, and every financial touchpoint between Castellano Holdings and this hospital. By 6 a.m. tomorrow, we're going to war, Marcus, and we're going to win. Marcus nodded, already typing. Sir, just so you know, Lawrence Ashford has destroyed people before. He has resources, political connections, legal teams. Harrison's smile was cold. So do I. The difference? I'm fighting for someone who saved my mother. He's fighting to protect a lie. Let's see which motivation is stronger. By midnight, Harrison had his war plan ready. By 6 a.m., he'd executed the first strike, restructuring pharmaceutical contracts to cut Lawrence out. By 8 a.m., Maya would walk into Brandywine Medical Center with Harrison's full protection, ready to face whatever Lawrence threw at her. The next morning at 8 a.m., Maya Holloway walked through Brandywine Medical Center's cardiac wing entrance wearing borrowed surgical scrubs, and every eye turned, because half the staff recognized the ghost of medicine's most controversial whistleblower, and the other half recognized the waitress from Monroe's Diner. The hospital smell hit her first. Antiseptic and floor wax. The chemical tang of sterilization that triggered 5 years of muscle memory in an instant. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Monitors beeped from patient rooms. Nurses moved with practiced efficiency between stations. Maya's hands trembled. She thought walking away from medicine would kill these instincts. but her body remembered everything. Pre-surgical prep motions, the automatic reach for hand sanitizer. The way her eyes tracked vitals displays without conscious thought. She was home, and it terrified her. Harrison had used a nuclear option. Threatened to pull Castellano Holdings' $47 million investment in Brandywine's new surgical wing unless Maya was allowed to observe and consult on Virginia's surgery. Brandywine's administration caved within an hour, but the parameters were strict. Maya couldn't scrub in, couldn't make surgical decisions, could only advise. She'd signed liability waivers that turned her stomach. Dr. Raymond Chun waited in the cardiac wing conference room, posture rigid with wounded pride and medical necessity. He was 58, silver-haired, wearing surgical scrubs and 30 years of professional authority, like armor. Dr. Holloway, he said, voice carefully neutral. Not hostile, but not welcoming. Dr. Chin. Maya extended her hand. He shook it after a moment's hesitation. He pulled up Virginia Castellano's complete chart on the conference room monitors. 8 days of medical records, 17 specialist consultations, countless test results. Maya studied the data with the focus that had once made her Northwestern's rising star. Your diagnosis was correct, Chin said quietly. SCAD in the LAD with intramural hematoma, layered beneath Takotsubo presentation. We missed it completely. Maya didn't gloat, just nodded. The Takotsubo presentation was dramatic. It's easy to anchor on the obvious diagnosis. She walked through her surgical recommendations. SCAD repair required conservative approach. Avoid stenting due to high reocclusion risk in spontaneous dissections. Consider surgical bypass of the affected segment. Aggressive anticoagulation post-op. Continuous echocardiogram monitoring for Takotsubo resolution. Chin listened, occasionally nodding, pulling up imaging to confirm her assessment. Finally, he looked at her with something close to respect. That's exactly the protocol I was developing. You really were as good as they said. Maya met his eyes. I was a good surgeon, Dr. Chin. Past tense. Doesn't look past tense to me, Chin said. The conference room door slammed open. Lawrence Ashford entered like he owned the building. Because in many ways, he did. 58, silver hair, $3,000 suit, flanked by 2 attorneys and Dr. Robert Mansfield, Brandywine's chief of medicine. The room's temperature dropped 20 degrees. Dr. Holloway, Lawrence said, voice dripping corporate courtesy that barely masked contempt. Or should I say, Miss Holloway, since you no longer hold medical credentials. I'm surprised to see you here, given the terms of your Illinois Medical Board suspension. Maya's pulse hammered, but her voice stayed steady. Mr. Ashford. Lawrence turned to Dr. Chin. I'm recommending immediate termination of this consultation. Miss Holloway is legally barred from medical practice. Any advice she provides opens this hospital to catastrophic malpractice liability. Mr. Castellano's grief is understandable, but we cannot allow it to compromise our medical and legal standards. Maya felt the familiar weight of powerlessness pressing down, the same feeling from 5 years ago when the system chose power over truth. She could leave now, protect herself, let the machinery of medicine and law grind forward without her. Or she could fight. She thought of Dr. Patricia Chun, of Margaret Voss, David Park, Jennifer Caldwell. 3 people dead because Kenneth Ashford valued pride over patience. Of Virginia Castellano, 36 hours from complete cardiac failure. Her pulse hammered, her hands clenched. She made the choice. You were always good at playing hero, Maya. Lawrence continued, smile cold. How did that work out for you? Oh, right. You're serving coffee now. Minimum wage plus tips. That's what happens when you betray powerful families. Maya stepped forward, voice calm but carrying surgical authority. Mr. Ashford, your brother killed 3 people through negligent surgical practice while impaired. I testified truthfully under oath. Your retaliation doesn't change those facts. Lawrence's smile sharpened. You violated medical community standards by going public. You could have handled it internally. Instead, you destroyed a respected surgeon's career, damaged my family's reputation, cost us hundreds of millions in partnerships. A respected surgeon who falsified 17 patient records, Maya interrupted, voice hardening, which you helped bury through Ashford Pharmaceuticals' legal team. I have copies of those records, Lawrence. All of them. Lawrence's face went white. You have nothing. Those files are sealed by court order. Are they? Maya asked quietly. Dr. Chen, watching the exchange, spoke up. Mr. Ashford, with respect, Mrs. Castellano's diagnosis proves Dr. Holloway's expertise. I missed this diagnosis for 8 days. She caught it in seconds. Whatever history exists between you, it doesn't change medical reality. Lawrence turned on Chun like a snake. Then you'll understand, Dr. Chen, that I'm recommending your termination as well for this breach of hospital protocol. He looked at Maya, triumph in his eyes. And Maya, I'll see you in criminal court for unauthorized practice of medicine. Philadelphia police are already filing felony charges. The room went silent except for monitor beeping from nearby patient rooms. Maya's pulse pounded in her ears. The smell of Lawrence's expensive cologne mixed with hospital antiseptic, creating an almost nauseating combination. Cold sweat formed on her palms. She watched Lawrence's jaw clench, a vein pulsing in his temple. But she didn't flinch. Do what you need to, Lawrence, Maya said, voice steady. But Virginia Castellano doesn't die because you're still trying to protect your brother's reputation. I'll face whatever consequences come after she survives. The door opened again. Harrison Castellano entered. Marcus Reeves, behind him carrying a tablet. Mr. Ashford, Harrison said, voice cold as January. I need you to leave. Now. Lawrence actually laughed. Harrison, I'm trying to protect you from massive liability. Security, Harrison said into his phone. Remove Lawrence Ashford from the cardiac wing immediately. Lawrence's face flushed red. You don't have the authority. I have $47 million invested in this hospital's surgical wing, Harrison interrupted. As of 7 a.m. this morning, Castellano Holdings also holds controlling interest in 3 of Brandywine's largest pharmaceutical contracts, all formerly with Ashford Pharmaceuticals. Marcus turned his tablet toward Lawrence, showing contract termination notices. You want to play power games over my mother's life? Harrison continued, voice lethal. I just restructured $15 million in medical contracts away from your company. Keep pushing, and I'll make sure Ashford Pharmaceuticals loses every hospital partnership in my investment portfolio. That's 47 medical centers across 12 states. Lawrence stared, realizing he'd miscalculated badly. Get out, Harrison said. Dr. Holloway stays. She consults on my mother's surgery, and if she faces criminal charges for saving my mother's life, I will spend every dollar and every connection I have making sure the world knows you destroyed a brilliant surgeon for exposing your brother's malpractice. Hospital security arrived. Lawrence left, flanked by his attorneys, fury radiating from every step. Virginia Castellano's surgery was scheduled for 2 p.m. Maya had 6 hours before Lawrence's legal maneuvers potentially shut everything down. Harrison looked at her. Why are you doing this? You could walk away right now. Maya's answer came from somewhere deeper than logic. Because if I don't, Kenneth Ashford wins. He doesn't just get to have killed 3 people. He gets to kill the doctor I am. I won't let him take that. Lawrence Ashford just declared war. Maya's facing criminal charges within hours. But here's what I haven't told you yet. Maya's been building evidence against the Ashford family for 5 years. And what she has could bring down more than just Lawrence. Do you think she'll survive this? Or is she walking into her own destruction? Drop your prediction below and hit that like button if you're Team Maya. We're at 12,000 likes. Let's hit 20,000 before the surgery. You need to see what happens in that operating room. At 2:14 p.m. in operating room 7, Dr. Raymond made a decision that would either save Virginia Castellano's life or end his 30-year career. He invited Maya Holloway to scrub in, handed her instruments, and let her become a surgeon again. The surgery began with Maya in the observation gallery, watching through glass as Chun and his team prepped Virginia. The OR was cold, kept at 62 degrees for infection control. Bright surgical lights illuminated the sterile field. Monitors beeped steady rhythms: heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation. Maya's hands gripped the gallery railing, knuckles white. Below, Chun made the first incision, sternotomy, opening Virginia's chest to access the heart. The surgical team moved with practice choreography, nurse anticipating Chen's needs, anesthesiologist monitoring vitals, surgical assistant providing retraction. Then Chen exposed Virginia's heart, and Maya saw the problem. The SCAD lesion in the left anterior descending artery was more extensive than the CT showed. The intramural hematoma was propagating, visible as dark discoloration spreading along the arterial wall. Complete coronary rupture was imminent. Minutes, not hours. Chen's hands hesitated. Maya saw it, the micropause that meant uncertainty. The dissection is worse than imaging indicated, Chen said to his team, voice tight. We need the segmental bypass technique, but he stopped, because that technique was Maya's. She'd pioneered it. Minimally invasive segmental bypass that preserved arterial integrity while routing blood flow around damaged sections. Chen's team hadn't trained in it. Standard bypass would require more extensive intervention, risking worsening the Takotsubo inflammation. Virginia's cardiac function was already marginal. Her heart couldn't handle aggressive intervention. Time was critical. Minutes counted. Chen looked up at the gallery where Maya stood, their eyes meeting through glass. He spoke into the intercom, voice carrying a weight that went beyond medicine. It carried surrender of ego, acknowledgement of truth. Dr. Holloway, I need your hands for this. Not your voice, your hands. The hospital chief of medicine, monitoring from another gallery, immediately protested over intercom. Dr. Chen, she's not credentialed. She can't scrub in. The liability. Harrison Castellano, standing beside Maya in the gallery, leaned to the microphone. She's my mother. My consent. Do it. Maya didn't move. Couldn't move. 5 years of exile, pressed down like gravity. Then Dr. Patricia Chen's voice echoed in her memory. Medicine isn't about protecting yourself, Maya. It's about who you save when saving them costs you everything. She walked to the scrub room. The surgical scrub was ritual, hands, forearms, elbows, 3 minutes of methodical cleaning. Maya's body remembered every motion. Muscle memory 5 years dormant surged back with overwhelming force. When she touched surgical gloves, when she felt the weight of sterile instruments in her hands again, 5 years of exile evaporated in an instant. She was home. Maya entered or 7. Chen stepped aside, giving her space. The surgical team watched uncertain, but Chen's nod carried authority. Trust her. Access the LAD 2 centimeters proximal to the dissection, Maya instructed, voice steady, falling into the teaching mode she'd once lived in. You're looking for clean arterial wall there, that's your anastomosis site. Here's what made the moment extraordinary. Maya didn't take over. She assisted, guided, taught in real time. Chen executed while Maya narrated. We need to create a segmental bypass that routes blood flow around the hematoma without stressing the damaged section. Gentle handling. The arterial wall is fragile. Sutures need to be precise, but not too tight. This wasn't the hero doctor swooping in to save the day. This was medicine working the way it should. Experienced surgeons checking egos at the door, prioritizing patient outcomes over pride. Chen's hands were steady and skilled. Maya's expertise refined his approach. The SCAD repair took 47 minutes. 47 minutes where Maya remembered why she'd endured 15 years of brutal training, why she'd testified against Kenneth Ashford knowing it would cost everything, why the oath she'd taken mattered more than safety. Then they addressed the Takotsubo inflammation, carefully balancing post-surgical support without overloading cardiac output. Virginia's heart rhythm stabilized. Her ejection fraction began improving on monitors, numbers climbing from 18% toward 30%. The surgery was successful. As they closed Virginia's chest, Chen spoke quietly to Maya. I've never seen anyone work a dissection with that precision. You should be teaching this technique, training the next generation. Maya's voice was soft, layered, with 5 years of loss. Before I lost everything. Maybe someday again. Virginia Castellano in cardiac ICU stable. Harrison collapsed into a chair outside her room. 63 hours of terror finally releasing. His shoulders shook with sobs he'd held back for days. Maya emerged from the surgical wing, still in scrubs, and Harrison stood. For a moment, no words existed adequate to the moment. Then Harrison's voice, rough with emotion. You saved her. After 17 specialists gave up, after 8 days of watching her die, you saved her. Maya shook her head. Dr. Chen saved her. I just saw what needed to be seen. No, Harrison said fiercely. You risked everything, your safety, your freedom, for a stranger. Why? Maya's answer revealed the core truth that had driven every choice. Because 5 years ago, I took an oath. Primum non nocere. First, do no harm. Kenneth Ashford violated that oath, and I paid the price for exposing him. But that oath doesn't expire just because the system failed. Your mother was dying from a condition I could diagnose. If I stayed silent, I'd be violating the same oath I defended. I couldn't live with that. Before Harrison could respond, footsteps echoed down the hallway. 2 Philadelphia police officers approached, faces professional but not unkind. Dr. Maya Holloway? Maya's body went rigid. She knew. You're under arrest for unauthorized practice of medicine in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a 3rd-degree felony. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Down the hallway, Lawrence Ashford watched, satisfaction evident in every line of his posture. Maya didn't resist. She allowed the handcuffs, allowed her hands, the hands that had just saved a life, to be restrained behind her back. She looked at Harrison one final time. Your mother will need careful monitoring for the next 72 hours. Make sure they follow the post-op protocol Dr. Chen has. She's going to survive, Mr. Castellano. As officers led her away, Maya felt something unexpected flooding through the fear and uncertainty. Peace. For the first time in 5 years, she had acted as the doctor she trained to be. Whatever consequences came next, whatever Lawrence Ashford did, whatever the system decided, that couldn't be taken from her. She was a surgeon, license or no license, prison or no prison. She was a surgeon. Maya Holloway spent 11 hours in a Philadelphia police holding cell before Harrison Castellano's legal team secured her bail. But in those 11 hours, Harrison was uncovering evidence that would dismantle the Ashford family's corruption one document at a time. The holding cell smelled like industrial cleaner in desperation. Maya sat on a metal bench, still wearing borrowed surgical scrubs, hand that had just saved a life now fingerprinted and photographed like criminals. The irony wasn't lost on her. She testified against a surgeon who killed 3 people, and now she faced felony charges for saving one. But she felt no regret, only exhaustion and something close to peace. Across the city, Harrison Castellano sat in his corner office at 3 a.m., driven by moral debt and rage at the injustice he'd almost perpetuated. Marcus Reeves had assembled a team of forensic investigators, corporate lawyers, and private detectives. If Lawrence Ashford wanted war, Harrison would give him annihilation. Pull everything, Harrison commanded. Kenneth Ashford's surgical history, Lawrence's financial records. Every connection between Ashford Pharmaceuticals and medical boards. I want to know every person they've paid, every investigation they've buried, every life they've destroyed. The team worked through the night. By dawn, the picture emerged. Maya Holloway wasn't just any surgeon. She was potentially the most talented cardiac surgeon of her generation. Marcus laid out the findings. Sir, her surgical outcomes at Northwestern Memorial. 97.3% success rate. The national average is 74%. She performed 127 cardiac surgeries in her final year there. 0 deaths. 3 complications that she personally managed to successful outcomes. 43 of those cases were high-risk patients other surgeons had refused. She saved every single one. Patient testimonials used words like miraculous, saved my life, when 5 other surgeons said it was impossible. The most skilled hands I've ever witnessed. Research publications in the Lancet JAMA, the New England Journal of Medicine. Teaching awards. Surgical Innovation Awards. She'd been nominated for the American College of Surgeons Young Surgeon Award the year before her testimony. Then the destruction. The ethics complaints were manufactured, Marcus continued, pulling up documents on screens around the office. A private investigation firm called Sentinel Strategic Services created them. Ashford Pharmaceuticals paid them $340,000 over 6 months. The so-called patient grievances came from 3 individuals who'd received financial settlements from the Ashford family. $75,000, $125,000, and $90,000, respectively. None had actually been Maya's patients. The Illinois Medical Board suspension revealed even deeper corruption. 2 board members who voted to suspend Maya's license had pharmaceutical industry ties. Dr. Richard Vance received $150,000 in consulting fees from Ashford Pharmaceuticals the month they voted on Maya's case. Dr. Ellen Morrison's husband's medical practice received a $200,000 equipment donation from Ashford Pharmaceuticals 2 weeks before the vote. This is systematic witness intimidation and corruption of official proceedings, Harrison's lead attorney said. Federal charges, multiple felonies. Then the investigators found something that made the entire picture snap into horrifying focus. Sir, you need to see this, Marcus said, pulling up archived medical records from 12 years earlier. Dr. Patricia Chun, Maya's mentor, the woman who taught her cardiac surgery at Johns Hopkins, was one of Kenneth Ashford's earliest victims, not in death, but in career destruction. 12 years ago, Dr. Chun had been called to consult on a complex cardiac case at Northwestern Memorial, where Kenneth Ashford was the primary surgeon. Her consultation notes questioned Ashford's surgical judgment, recommended a different approach. Ashford had ignored her recommendations. The patient died. Dr. Chun filed a concern with the Surgical Review Board. Kenneth Ashford retaliated, blocked her from a promotion she'd been promised, used his family's influence to ensure she was passed over for department chair positions at 3 major hospitals, spread rumors about her competence. Dr. Chun died 3 years ago from pancreatic cancer, but her final letter to Maya, the one Maya kept in her apron pocket, contained more than encouragement. Marcus pulled out evidence boxes recovered from Maya's apartment under warrant. Sealed files Dr. Chun had gathered over 15 years. Surgical records documenting Kenneth Ashford's pattern of impaired surgeries. 19 suspicious outcomes. Falsified surgical reports. Evidence of alcohol and prescription drug use during procedures. Dr. Chun had been too afraid to release the evidence while alive, afraid of the Ashford family's power, afraid of what it would cost her. But she'd given it all to Maya with a final instruction. Use this to protect others. Don't let fear stop you the way it stopped me. Maya had been building a case for 5 years. Not for revenge, for protection. To ensure Kenneth Ashford never practiced again. To ensure Lawrence Ashford couldn't destroy other whistleblowers. There's one more thing, Marcus said, pulling up an audio file. Maya recorded her entire interaction with Lawrence at Brandywine Medical Center. Harrison leaned forward. The recording played Lawrence's voice, crystal clear. Those files are sealed by court order, and his acknowledgement of helping handle problems internally regarding Kenneth's surgical errors, admissions of suppressing investigations, obstruction of justice, fraud. This is admissible in criminal court, Harrison's attorney confirmed. Harrison looked at the assembled evidence. 5 years of corruption, 19 potential victims, systematic destruction of a brilliant surgeon's life. Rage crystallized into cold determination. Prepare 3 packages, Harrison said. 1 for the Philadelphia District Attorney, 1 for the Pennsylvania Medical Board, and 1 for the Philadelphia Inquirer's investigative team. I want this public. All of it. Harrison arranged the meeting for 10 a.m. at his office. Lawrence Ashford arrived expecting negotiation, perhaps a quiet settlement, an agreement to drop charges against Maya in exchange for Harrison's silence. Instead, he walked into a conference room where 6 attorneys, 2 federal investigators, and Marcus Reeves waited. The evidence was spread across the table like an autopsy. Sit down, Lawrence, Harrison said, voice carrying the cold authority of someone who'd already won. Lawrence's face went pale as he saw the documents. Kenneth's surgical records, the financial payments, the corrupted medical board votes. You destroyed Maya Holloway for telling the truth about your brother, Harrison said, each word precise as a scalpel. You corrupted medical boards, falsified evidence, used your pharmaceutical company's resources for personal retaliation, and you ruined an extraordinary surgeon's life. Lawrence's voice carried desperate defensiveness. You don't understand. Kenneth was my brother. Family protects family. I almost lost my mother, Harrison interrupted, voice turning to ice, because 17 specialists missed what Maya diagnosed in 3 seconds. Your family protection has cost lives. 19 patients with suspicious outcomes under Kenneth's care. 3 confirmed deaths from his impaired surgeries. How many more died because you buried investigations? He pushed a document across the table. A comprehensive dossier of Lawrence's corruption. Here's what happens now, Harrison continued. You resign from every hospital board immediately. Ashford Pharmaceuticals issues a public statement acknowledging the wrongful actions against Dr. Holloway. You fund her legal defense. Already done, but you're paying me back. And you pay restitution for her lost career income. My accountants calculate approximately $4.7 million. 5 years of surgical salary, lost research grants, destroyed reputation. Lawrence's hands trembled. And if I refuse? Harrison smiled without warmth. The Philadelphia Inquirer publishes this entire story tomorrow morning. Front page. The FBI receives the obstruction evidence. They're already on standby. And I personally ensure Ashford Pharmaceuticals loses every hospital contract in my investment portfolio. That's 47 medical centers across 12 states. I calculate your company's annual revenue loss at approximately $380 million. He leaned forward, but here's the part that really matters, Lawrence. Those 19 families whose loved ones died or were harmed by Kenneth's impaired surgeries. They're being contacted today, every single one, with evidence, with legal support, with the truth you buried. Lawrence's facade cracked completely. His voice was barely a whisper. You're destroying my family. No, Harrison said quietly. Your brother destroyed your family when he operated while impaired. You destroyed it further when you chose protecting a lie over protecting patients. Maya Holloway tried to save lives. You tried to silence her. That ends now. The federal investigators stepped forward with subpoenas. Lawrence Ashford's empire crumbled in a single morning. The Ashford family's empire is crumbling. But here's what I need you to understand. Maya didn't do this for revenge. She did this to protect future patients from the same corruption that killed 3 people. Drop a heart emoji if you believe whistleblowers deserve protection, not destruction. And subscribe because the next 10 minutes show you what justice really looks like when someone with Harrison's resources decides to fight for what's right. You're going to want to see how this ends. 6 weeks after Maya Holloway's arrest, the Pennsylvania Medical Board held an emergency hearing that would determine not just her future, but whether medicine's institutions could correct 5 years of injustice. And the gallery was standing room only with surgeons, patients, and reporters who needed to witness accountability. The hearing room in Harrisburg felt like a courtroom. Maya sat at a table with Harrison's legal team, wearing a professional suit that felt foreign after 18 months of Waitress uniforms. Behind her, the gallery held faces that represented her entire journey. Lou from Monroe's Diner, Mrs. Patterson holding flowers, Dr. Raymond Chun in his white coat, Harrison with his mother Virginia in a wheelchair, and reporters. So many reporters. The Pennsylvania Medical Board consisted of 9 members, 7 physicians, 2 public representatives. They'd reviewed 847 pages of evidence over 2 weeks. Board Chair Dr. Margaret Sullivan spoke first, voice carrying the weight of institutional acknowledgement. This board has reviewed the comprehensive evidence regarding Dr. Maya Christine Holloway's Illinois medical license suspension. The evidence reveals systematic corruption of medical board proceedings, manufactured ethics complaints funded by Ashford Pharmaceuticals, and falsified patient grievances created to silence a whistleblower who exposed deadly malpractice. She paused, letting the word settle. This represents a catastrophic failure of medical self-regulation. The board's decision was unanimous. Emergency medical license granted for Pennsylvania, effective immediately. Formal recommendation sent to Illinois Medical Board demanding immediate reinstatement under threat of federal investigation. Illinois complied 3 days later. Maya's hand shook as she held the license certificate. The credential that had been stolen from her 5 years ago, finally restored. Dr. Sullivan continued, "This board issues a formal apology to Dr. Holloway for the injustice perpetrated by corrupted medical oversight. We acknowledge that institutional failures nearly cost Virginia Castellano her life and kept an extraordinarily talented surgeon from practicing for 5 years. Lawrence Ashford's fall was swift and total. He resigned from all hospital boards within 48 hours. Ashford Pharmaceuticals Board, facing FBI investigation and collapsing hospital contracts, forced him into indefinite leave of absence, corporate speak for termination. Federal obstruction of justice charges were filed. The $4.7 million restitution payment processed. Kenneth Ashford's legacy was systematically dismantled. Investigations into the 19 suspicious surgical outcomes revealed at least 7 involved serious malpractice that had been covered up. Families received settlements acknowledgement, the truth they'd been denied. Northwestern Memorial removed Kenneth's name from alumni honors. The American College of Surgeons rescinded his awards. Medical journals issued corrections on his published research, noting concerns regarding data integrity. 3 families filed wrongful death lawsuits. Dr. Raymond Chin became Maya's most vocal advocate. At the Pennsylvania Board hearing, he testified, "I was wrong about Dr. Holloway twice. Once when I missed a diagnosis, she caught in seconds, costing Virginia Castellano 8 days of declining cardiac function. And again, when I let credentials blind me to expertise. Medicine needs people who tell uncomfortable truths more than it needs people who protect comfortable lies." Chun offered Maya attending surgeon position at Brandywine Medical Center and director of complex cardiac pathology. But Maya and negotiated something unprecedented. "I'll work 3 days a week as attending surgeon," she told Chin. "But 2 days a week, I staff a free clinic serving uninsured patients in working-class neighborhoods. I spent 18 months invisible among people the system ignores. I won't forget what that taught me." Chin agreed immediately. 3 weeks post-surgery, Virginia Castellano met Maya in Brandywine's Cardiac Rehabilitation Center. Her cardiac function had returned to 62% ejection fraction, nearly normal. She walked without assistance. Color returned to her face. Virginia embraced Maya with tears. "You saved my life when no one else could see what was wrong. Thank you doesn't cover it." Maya's voice was soft. "Your son gave me something more valuable. He gave me my career back by believing in me when credentials said he shouldn't." Harrison established the Patricia Chin Foundation for Medical Whistleblower Protection with a $20 million endowment. The foundation provided legal defense, financial support, and career rehabilitation for medical professionals who reported malpractice. Maya served on the board alongside Harrison, medical ethics experts, and 2 other vindicated whistleblowers. Castellano Holdings implemented new protocols across all healthcare investments: mandatory third-party reviews of disciplinary actions, whistleblower protection clauses in every contract, bias audits for credentialing processes. Harrison funded 12 other wrongfully disciplined medical professionals' license reinstatement efforts, anonymously. Maya kept her studio apartment above Monroe's Diner, still had coffee there every morning before her surgical shifts. Lou joked she was his most overqualified regular customer. But justice came with scars. Maya attended therapy twice monthly, processing 5 years of trauma that didn't evaporate with license restoration. She still flinched when hospital administrators entered rooms, still had nightmares about testifying, about the Illinois Medical Board hearing, about police handcuffs. Her mother moved to Philadelphia, their relationship slowly rebuilding after years of distance. Maya dated cautiously. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. During an interview with the Philadelphia Inquirer that went viral, Maya said, "I got my career back. That's more than most whistleblowers ever receive. But it shouldn't require a billionaire's intervention and 5 years of exile for the truth to matter. The system that destroyed me for being right is the same system that almost killed Virginia Castellano by refusing to see expertise in unexpected places. Until that changes fundamentally, this isn't a happy ending. It's just one person's survival story." 5 years lost. Dr. Patricia Chin dead before seeing vindication. 3 of Kenneth Ashford's victims still dead. Justice served but imperfect. Real but bittersweet. 9 months after the surgery that changed everything, Dr. Maya Christine Holloway stood in a University of Pennsylvania auditorium addressing 340 medical students about the topic no one wanted to discuss: what happens when telling the truth costs you everything, and why you do it anyway. The auditorium was packed. First-year through fourth-year medical students, some residents, faculty members who'd read about Maya's case. Harrison Castellano sat in the back row with Virginia, watching the woman who'd saved his mother's life now teaching the next generation. Maya wore surgical scrubs under her white coat, her teaching uniform. 9 months as attending cardiac surgeon at Brandywine Medical Center. Published her SCAD repair technique in the New England Journal of Medicine. Teaching cardiac surgery to residents and fellows 3 days a week. Staffing the free clinic 2 days weekly. Her personal life was rebuilding slowly. Therapy helping process trauma. Her mother living nearby. Their relationship healing. Still drinking coffee at Monroe's Diner every morning. Some anchors mattered. Dating a pediatric surgeon from Jefferson Health. Taking it slow because trust required time. Her friendship with Harrison had become genuine, not transactional. He was her champion. She was his moral compass. Virginia considered Maya family. Insisted she attend Castellano family dinners, holidays. The Patricia Chin Foundation had helped 19 medical whistleblowers in 9 months. 3 had licenses restored. 7 had criminal charges dropped. The Foundation's model was being studied by medical boards nationwide. Maya's voice carried across the auditorium. You're going to face a moment where doing the right thing costs you everything. You'll see something wrong, malpractice, corruption, incompetence, and you'll have a choice. Speak up or stay silent. She paused, making eye contact with students in the front rows. I spoke up. It destroyed my career for 5 years. Cost me $385,000 in debt I couldn't pay, professional exile, arrest, handcuffs. I'd do it again, not because I'm brave, but because 3 people died from Kenneth Ashford's impaired surgeries, and my silence would have meant more deaths. Her voice hardened. Medicine doesn't belong to powerful people protecting reputations. It belongs to patients who deserve truth. Be the doctor who tells truth, even when truth costs everything. The applause was thunderous. After her speech, a young third-year medical student approached, nervous. Dr. Holloway, I'm observing a surgical attending whose techniques are questionable, but he's head of the department. I don't know what to do. Maya handed her a card for the Patricia Foundation. You're not alone anymore. Call them, document everything, and remember, your oath is to patients, not to people with power. The student clutched the card like a lifeline and left. Maya watched her go, seeing herself 5 years ago, terrified but determined, the cycle continuing, but this time with support.